Hello, everyone. Welcome to Carolina Perspective. I'm Sherry Bernardi. March is National Reading Month. Are you enjoying a good book these days? You know, it's hard to believe that there are a number of people who do not have the skill of reading, or they know very minimal words. My guest this morning is Jennifer Gibson, and she is the executive director of Trident Literacy Association. And are you reading a good book these days, Jennifer?
I'm always reading. I know we pride ourselves on being lifelong learners. So it's always great to have. I was actually in Barnes & Noble yesterday buying a book.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I was in
The Silence of the Girls, in case anyone's looking for ideas.
Okay. All right. I need some good reading. Your organization has been around since, is it 1972? Tell us about Trident Literacy Association and what it does. What is your mission?
Well, we teach adults to read, write, and reason. We want to lift people out of generational poverty using literacy. Our organization started back in 1972, connecting people that didn't know how to read with people in the community that wanted to help with that problem because it was substantial. Back in the 60s and 70s, there was a large group of people that didn't know how to read in this community. And so it started out with just a shoebox with names on index cards, matching them up, and it grew into what we are today.
I bet that we would all be very surprised by the number of people who do not know how to read, people that we rub elbows with all the time.
Yeah, the numbers are high. The number of people that need to learn how to read or improve their reading, or that need a high school credential. There's kind of levels, and obviously having no literacy skills or low literacy skills is going to have a tremendous impact on your life in a way that you probably couldn't even imagine. So it's going to affect your medical care. You're not going to be able to read prescription bottles. You're not going to be able to read directions on medication that you need to take. It severely limits your ability to bank. So with financial, so it's already going to put you at a disadvantage because you're not going to have access to some of the resources people in society generally have access to. It will affect every aspect of your life. And most importantly, for women or the primary caregiver in a family, which is generally a woman, if their literacy level is going to have the greatest impact on their children's literacy levels. Yeah. You can do everything you want to attack the literacy problem we have with children in our community. But if you're not addressing that caregiver's literacy, you're going to have to work so much harder to have an impact.
How many times does it happen that someone does not catch on to the skill of reading due to dyslexia, due to maybe a learning delay, or I don't know, if a disability or whatever? How often does that happen?
Frequently. So when someone comes to us, obviously they're coming to us as adults. So they may be young adults and just recently left the school system, in which case we probably have an idea. They might have had an IEP or 504 in school. They may have some, the services are better now in the schools. But if you get someone who's over the age of 30, when they come to us, we really don't know. Now, when someone makes it to the age of 40 or 50 and doesn't have any literacy skills, we know there are probably multiple underlying issues. It's probably not just limited access to education. So unfortunately, there are no great resources to send those folks to get the diagnosis. So we adjust our curriculum. We work with a lot of special education teachers, retired special education teachers, and we do that to adjust strategies. So somebody may need a phonics-based approach, but then another student may not need that approach because of just the way their brains are working. And so we just kind of have to muddle through that with them.
I can look back to first grade, I think, is when the Dick and Jane books, when they rolled out, the learning to read. We wanted to learn how to read. I'm just wondering, how come kids don't want to learn to read? Or there are some that, don't pay attention. But why aren't they picking up this skill?
Well, yeah, so I would say it is the natural human condition to want to learn. We are curious by nature. It is children that are disinterested it is generally a result of their environment and not of the act of learning something new.
Mm-hmm.
So in the case of children, which actually I'm not an expert in this area, we work with adults, but sometimes there's an underlying learning disability. They may have ADHD. It could be that it's a barrier that they're facing. So they could be experiencing hunger. They could be unhoused, and so they're exhausted. There's so many things that play into it that affect it. But to be honest with you, very rarely, I would almost argue never, is it a case of a child not wanting to learn.
I'm sure you see all the whenever they have these mandated school test results come out, and you hear that middle and high schoolers are reading at a third grade level. At third grade level,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough. How does that happen? And so, it doesn't, there's so many things that play into it. And normally it is external factors, I would say. So that's why it's so important anytime you talk about literacy that you kind of take a holistic approach. Since we work with adults, we have a wraparound services approach. So it's kind of that hierarchy of needs that if you're hungry or if you're unhoused or if you have to work 80 hours a week to pay bills, to meet those basic needs, you're not going to be able to focus on education. And so we sometimes have to help folks meet those barriers and eliminate that for a period of time so that they can dedicate time to improve their literacy, to upskill or reskill so that they can get a job that pays a livable wage. And so it's kind of a vicious cycle to break out of. I can't tell you how many adults come to us and they are desperate to learn to improve they may have some reading skills, but just to either, finish their high school equivalency, or just learn digital literacy skills. And life just gets in the way and makes it really hard. And that happens enough, it kind of wears you down. So that's something that we feel is a very important part of the process.
Yeah. It's one thing to learn to read, but you have to remember what you've read. Comprehension. Is that as difficult as learning how to read? Is remembering what you've read?
Absolutely. And to a certain extent, the older we get, the more difficult it is for some folks. Our brains just don't retain information the way they did when they were younger. So when we're working with someone in their 70s or 80s, which we do that,
really?
Sometimes that's an issue. Yeah. And so, we have one of my favorite students that comes in all the time is in their 80s. And so we've been working with them for years. And but they're someone that just never got that opportunity to learn to read. And so later in life, they decided it's never too late. It is never too late. And I remember they were so excited because they ordered something online from Home Depot. And it's such an easy thing that we think about, the ability, when we need something and the local store doesn't have it, you're like, oh, well, let me go online and find it. Just the ability to do that was life-changing for him. So
that is remarkable. If you're just joining us, we're talking to Jennifer Gibson. She's the executive director of Trident Literacy Association. March is National Reading Month, and that's why we're talking about literacy. Have you ever had adults come in, a mom, let's say, and says, my child came to me with, a book and said, Mommy, read to me, and I couldn't do it.
Oh, yes. As a matter of fact, we work, the Dorchester County First Steps, and that's an organization that works with little babies. That was something that they came to us and they said, we have caregivers coming to us saying they really want to read with their kids, but they don't know how. And so we are actually working out a satellite program with them so that we can go and help those caregivers improve their literacy skills so that they can work with those kids.
And I would think that a parent who is an adult and realizing the importance of being able to read, they can pass that on to the kids and say, pay attention. You need this skill. You need to know how to read it. It opens up the world to you.
It does. It absolutely does. And so that's why it's, and it's not just learning to read. It's actually continuing that on because someone that has third grade reading skills, they're going to be able to function through life, but they're not going to qualify for the jobs that pay a livable wage. So, that's one of the things, kind of the two main things we do at our organization is we not only are we helping folks learn to read, but we're working with them towards a goal. So either it could just be our Literacy for Life program is geared to those people that really just need to improve their literacy skills. We may not be working towards a high school diploma. The majority of the folks that we work with in that arena, we actually are working towards the GED, and we're doing it in conjunction with workforce development, so that very rarely does somebody want to get a GED just because they want to get a GED. They want to get a GED because they want a better job.
Yeah.
They want a better life for their family. And so we work with our partners in the community, and we make sure that they're on a path where they're getting a training program or certification program, an apprenticeship, might be a 2-year degree, whatever is appropriate for them. We're working on that simultaneously.
Do you ever have people who have gone through the Literacy Association, learned to read, and have, of course, excelled and maybe come back and want to help out?
Yes, we do have folks that come back. I will say it is, everyone does it, but we see it a lot with our English as a second language students. So literacy, you may have literacy in one language, but then when you come to this country, you don't have literacy in the language spoken by everyone else. And so we have a lot of English as a second language learners. And we love them, and they are really great about coming back and helping us to communicate with folks that are new to the community that don't have any English. Because once we get them in the classroom, we got it. But getting them in the classroom, the registration process, working out all those details, it's really difficult when you don't have the language.
Jennifer, I'd heard some people say who are not from this country, they come here, they can speak English. They have the thick accent of their native country, but they can speak English pretty darn well. And you say, where did you learn English? And they say, I watched a lot of TV. I just picked it up. And I think, wow, because I've traveled abroad, and you turn on the TV and I don't know what is being said. And I just wonder, is our language easy to pick up? Or is it difficult?
No,
I've heard both
English
things.
Is actually quite difficult. No, English is actually quite difficult to learn. Some people have a natural talent for languages. My child is one of those. They're 15 and they have a working knowledge of Japanese. They took Latin all through when they were younger. They speak Spanish. And they just naturally pick up languages. I took, through the college level of French and still can barely speak one word of it. So,
yeah, me too.
There are some people that their brains are just naturally more talented at languages, and so I suspect that's some of it. Some people are just better at it than others, and that's probably part of why you see it. Some, it's not a indicator of education in their home country. We have a lot of folks that come to us, especially from countries that were stable, that are beginning to experience political instability. I can't tell you how many doctors and lawyers and engineers we have in our program. So they attained professional level degrees in their home country, but they just never learned to speak English. It just wasn't something they needed in their day-to-day life, and they didn't focus on that.
That is remarkable. I mean,
yes.
The people at those professions that we all look at and think, oh my gosh, they had to study hard. They had to read a lot of books, but yet they come here and it's like, I don't know where to start.
It really is. If you don't have the language, I mean, you have the critical thinking skills. You have those problem solving skills. Mm-hmm. That piece of it does translate. But if you don't have the ability to read or write the language or understand or communicate to other people, all that education is kind of for naught. So until you can get that basic communication piece down, you're going to have a very difficult time applying those skills into your profession.
How does someone who's new to this country learn about Trident Literacy Association? They look in the phone book. Phone book. There is no phone book.
Yeah, word of mouth. I think, communities, they, sometimes it's that we, when there was a large population of Afghanistan refugees that came to this country, a lot of civic organizations and churches were working with us because we took, large groups, and we worked in partnership with other organizations to get them to our programs. So sometimes we do it that way, but a lot of times they just, they hear about us from a friend or family, or maybe we did something on media, on the radio in their language, and they hear about it. And so just generally word of mouth. It's not something we really have to advertise. We have waiting lists, and folks are coming to us. We really don't have to get out and advertise.
I've had to learn texting language because there are a lot of abbreviations and just use an emoji or whatever. Do you think that is hurting young people when it comes to learning how to read, of just valuing the language as it is without all the electronics, little doodads thrown in?
Yeah, so I have the take that no, that it is. We have a tendency to want to hang on to what we know and what we knew, and we are living through an age that, when historians look back on it, they will say this was a defining period in humanity, and it changed, much like the Industrial Revolution. It changed the way humans interacted with the world and with each other, and they were never the same. And so I think that is what we are living in right now. And so instead of fighting against AI and, some of these things that are just so different and so scary for us that did not grow up with them, I think we have to do a better job of that is these kids' new reality, and they're not going to go backwards. And so how do we incorporate that into their learning styles? How do we incorporate learning how to objectively look at media and at words and at images when knowing that it can all be faked? So, there are some school districts that have banned AI. You cannot, if you're in that environment, you actually can't access it. And I think that's a mistake. I think that from now on, assisted writing, that is part of our reality. It just helps us be more efficient. And so teaching kids and teaching adults how to do it in a responsible way, and how to use it as a tool, and then add their learning knowledge to it. That really is, I think, the discussion we should be having, because it's just like when you look back in history, most of us now cannot write calligraphy. That used to be a skill that anyone considered literate had.
Right.
Most of us have a difficult time reading Middle English. Language was more, it's evolved. And so what we're seeing is it evolving, and it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's only if we don't incorporate it and still continue to teach critical thinking and problem solving, and an acquisition of knowledge and applying it to real life.
Yeah, this may be a little off the beaten path, but I understand that kids are not being taught cursive. Does reading and cursive go together at all, or just being able to read the written word?
Yes and no. So, there's so much fascinating research out there on, how our brains work, and what applies to one student isn't necessarily going to apply to another. And so there are some people that we know that the act of writing cursive engages a part of their brain that helps them read. And so the answer for some people is yes, it is appropriate for them to learn cursive. If students don't learn how to write cursive, will it affect their ability to learn? Not really. For the most part, no. The only implication I see from it is that they can't read cursive. I actually think it's more important to learn to read cursive than it is to write cursive.
Yeah.
Because if you can't read the documents around you, one of the colleagues I teach with, she made the point that, if you can't read the Constitution of the United States, if you can't read that source material, how can you really make educated decisions about civics in our country? And so that's a very valid point. And I think she's right. The ability to read it is probably more important than the ability to write it.
Yeah. If you're just tuning in a little late, where have you been? But glad you're here. My guest is Jennifer Gibson, and she is the Executive Director of Trident Literacy Association, as March is National Reading Month. You all have a bash coming up. I think it has to do with barbecue, does it?
Yes, we have the Books and Barbecue Bash. So, reading and learning is communal. And so when we thought about, we were kind of reimagining what we wanted our annual event to look like. And we thought, gosh, we want it to be more family oriented. Because, we know that it's very holistic. We need to involve the entire community, all of our partners, all the members of the family. And so we thought, what is more fun than just a good old-fashioned, barbecue at a park. And so we're going to be doing an event at the Wanamaker County Park And we thought we got to bring books into it because we're literacy. So we thought, who doesn't have a bunch of books sitting around their house that they've read and maybe they want to trade it out for something different. So we are going to have some tables set up to facilitate. You just drop a book off, and if you see something you like, you just take it with you, and then whatever's left, we'll take back to the offices with us and distribute to members of the community.
So people can drop off books and enjoy some barbecue.
So at that event they can. And we would.
You mean I can clean my Jen? You mean I can clean my attic and come over and just drop this stuff off?
I would love to say, yeah, bring your books by, but I know there's a lot of books out there, and we only have so much storage facilities with our organization. So now I know there are lots of organizations that resell books, and so that's a great place to take them and donate them. Mm-hmm. But for this event, yes, go on ahead and bring it in because we'll have the ability to take those back and have a storage place for them. And our hope is that members of the community will be taking a lot of these books home just so that they have something new. I'm a huge fan of Kindles and of the ability to just download a book instantly, but there's nothing like having a hard copy of a book in your hands and being able to flip the pages.
You are right. I had a Kindle, but I like a book. I like a physical book with pages that turn. That's what do they say? That's my jam. That's what that's what I like is like a book that, you can like a paperback and you kind of turn back the cover and it's a feel thing. It's a tactile thing.
Yes. It's nice. Now, some people, and I'm one of those people, I do consume it electronically. I like audiobooks. All this technology, it does allow us to learn in a way that wasn't an option before, but it doesn't replace the good old-fashioned skill of reading a book.
Yeah. Oh, you are right. You are right about that. So, what will be cooking on that day?
So we'll be having burgers and hot dogs and, lots of yummy sides. And you can just come on out with the family, and you can purchase tickets on the website, our website, tridentlit.org, and park admission is included, so you can enjoy Wanamaker County Park that day as well. So it'll just be a great time. It's May 11th. It's a Saturday, 11:30 to 2:30. So we hope folks will buy tickets, and we use the proceeds from that sale to help fund our program. So we're a nonprofit, so we are dependent on our wonderful community to help us offer these services to folks.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it sounds wonderful. And I'll say, did I see that tickets were $30?
They're $30 for general admission. Kids are $10, so children 12 and under, children 3 and under are free. And then our student population, our TLA students, can purchase a ticket for $12. Yeah. So if they want to come and participate with us.
And I mentioned the price because it's good to know. But also, have you been through a drive-through lately?
This is a really great way. You get lunch.
Exactly.
You get soda, and you get to enjoy the park. It's really a great value. So we wanted to make sure that this event was accessible. So we've done some big galas, and we've done some luncheons where the tickets are $75 or $100, and we thought, gosh, that's just not realistic for most members of the community. So we hope that those that can do more will make an additional donation, but we just want to make sure that everyone can participate.
Well, I'm just saying for a beautiful day outside. And then you add the book and the learning idea, or the possibilities of all that. It just sounds like a real value because, again, if you've been through the drive-through lately and you're buying for more people than just yourself, and you're just sitting in your car the whole time. No, this is a much better.
Yes. This is a whole day of fun.
Yes.
This is a whole day of fun.
You are offering a much better deal. Much better deal.
Thank you.
We have about 5 minutes left. Are you always, like many nonprofits, are you in need of volunteers?
We actually are. We do a lot of our work with volunteers. So we have certified teachers that run our classes or run our tutoring sessions, but we really count on members of the community to come in and help us with that. We like to keep a 1-to-5 ratio, and so our tutors help us achieve that. So in our ESL classrooms, we love have folks so that when they break into small groups, there is a someone that speaks English in that group that can help answer, just the neatest little questions about kind of little colloquialisms and things that you don't think about that don't make sense. It's really interesting to listen to someone who's learning English talk about it, and you're like, oh, I never thought about that before.
Yeah.
So that's something, and you really don't need much experience. I'll be honest with you, to do that. Like, you don't have to be an educator. That's just something that having, a good heart and, a spirit of helping, we can train you to know what you need to do. And then we also use tutors in our adult basic education program. And so that is something where we do like to have someone that has some specific skill sets. They don't need to be educators, although we have a lot of retired educators or part-time educators that come in and help us out. We have a lot of members of the community. Math is one of those things that we always need help with. So we have some organizations, we have some engineers that come in and help us with that. And so it's a really great way to give back to the community. We have open tutoring hours for the students. They sign up for the schedule that they want. And then we have some of those additional tutors. And you always have the support of a couple of certified teachers in there with you.
Math did not occur to me.
That math is literacy too. Literacy. Yeah, and digital literacy, financial literacy, health literacy, and we offer financial literacy. We're actually, it'll go on the website next week. We're going to start a series of financial literacy classes on Tuesday evenings to help folks understand the principles of managing money. So, there's some math involved in that in terms of just adding and subtracting, but just the ability, understand the value of money, the value of budgeting, interest rates, all those type things are so important. And we have digital literacy on demand in our Literacy Development Center on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So there's literacy really is all encompassing.
If someone hears this or someone knows someone who could use your services, does it cost them anything?
Very little. So our GED program is $30. It's a one-time fee. And if someone is a SNAP participant with DSS, they will cover that for them. Our ESL classes are $50. Entire class sessions, it's 40 sessions. So it lasts about 23 weeks. Our Digital Literacy Center on Demand is free. Our financial literacy course is going to be $10, and it's a 6-month program. So it's very low cost.
Wow.
And someone's ability to pay is never a barrier. So we have scholarships available. So if somebody's interested in one of these services or one of these programs, do not let the fee get in your way. Come talk to us, and we will work something out.
Jennifer, that's very economical for what is being offered. Again, reading is a skill that you just have to have by one way or the other. If you want, a kind of life that's enjoyable or to provide for you and your family, you need to have some command of the language, but also knowing what the written word is saying.
Yes, it's so important and so critical that folks have literacy skills, and we haven't even really talked. And we talked a lot about the basic literacy, but there are so many folks out there that do have some literacy skills, but not enough to get a job.
Right.
And so that is something we also do. Is we help folks if somebody is. Maybe they did graduate from high school, but they want to change careers and they need to brush up on their math skills. That's something we can help them with. So anytime somebody needs additional help with anything related to learning, we can help them with that.
You all do it all. We are out of time, though, unfortunately. Jennifer, you have been fun to talk to. Jennifer Gibson, Executive Director of Trident Literacy Association. How do people get in touch with you?
The easiest way is through our website, tridentlit.org. You can register for classes. You can send us an email. You can also call us, and our number is 747-2223.
And you can also get tickets to the barbecue bash.
Yes, you can get tickets to the barbecue on the website. And we hope everyone's going to do that because we can't wait to meet all the members of the community that want to support us.
It sounds like a lot of fun. Jennifer, thank you so much. I hope we talk again. I appreciate it.
We will. Thank you. I enjoyed it.